take it away.
Hello, welcome back. We're actually working correctly. We are on the internet and also on time. So those are two pluses from last time. Welcomed again by 217 Problems, Brian Bernes, also a member of Facebook or Baseball Life. I should hope Facebook. Welcome back, Brian. I know that you are probably excited to join us for this one because we're going to be discussing some Yankee killers.
Yes, anything baseball I'm willing to talk about. And as you know, we are a country starved of baseball right now. So thank you for giving me this outlet to talk some ball.
Yeah, no problem. I'm like oddly a little bit excited for this episode, even though it's probably going to be a lot of bad memories. I don't know about you, Henry, but it's
Mondays has given new meaning. I always look at Mondays as a motivational Monday, but now it's Dong City. I get excited for baseball and get excited that we have to keep finding shit to come up with to talk about while we have no baseball. So.
I know, seriously.
Well,
I think your shaved head is going to be the main topic of this one, based very early on by the comments. But,
okay, I can't see what anybody's saying, so I can't wait to.
This should be interesting because, at least from my standpoint, I went through this exercise trying to find basically an all Yankee killer team. And what I realized was a lot of guys growing up I thought killed the Yankees really didn't. Like they were either it was their career norm, and we'll get into some of those players, or I just remember like a few memories that made me think that they killed us all the time, and the rest of the time they kind of sucked. So very interesting exercise. I don't know how you guys did it. I know we kind of left a lot of open to interpretation here. I have a team pretty much. But we can just kind of spit players out. I'd try and save the best for last.
I just grabbed a few guys. I'm sure that we're going to have...
I think we're going to overlap at times for sure.
There
are three guys I want to get right off the bat that didn't make my team, but I was most shocked that they didn't make my team. And those three guys are Mo Vaughn, Evan Longoria, and Jose Altuve, who, if you asked me on any of the three, I would have been like, they murdered the Yankees. Mo Vaughn was the original David Ortiz. Altuve and Longoria, more recent examples, but Vaughn was a career 293, 383, 906 split against the Yankees. He was 285, 380, 950. So slightly higher OPS, but batting average and on base were lower. He's a Red Sox, so I think a lot of those guys we just have a lot of memories of because we play them so often. But he really didn't do anything out of the ordinary against the Yankees.
And I think we'd have to drill down on big moments because I think a lot of these guys, because we saw them so much, may have one or two big moments that we remember, but over the stretch of 20 plus games, may not have the actual numbers all around.
Yeah, so Longoria, good example of that. I have memories of him. I was at a game when he homered twice, I was at a game when he homered twice. I was also at a game when he homered off Mariano Rivera. It seemed like he homered against us every game. He hit 270, 344 with an 831 OPS against the Yankees, which is good, but it's not above his career norms, and it wasn't really spectacular. And then Altuve, 291, 347, and an OPS under 800, 797. With Altuve, I think you hit the nail on the head, though. It's memory. It's specific moments. He's won 2 games in the playoffs against us. The walk-off home run. He also scored the winning run in Game 2 in 2017. And also that series where they swept the Yankees last year in, May. He had 2 late-inning home runs in those games, too. So I think it's recent memory. But, yeah, those 3 guys really didn't qualify when we get into these other names. But I thought I'd throw them out there anyway because I think a lot of people probably agreed with me. So let's get into it. Henry, start us off. Who is your first Yankee killer and share why?
I didn't number them 5 to 1 or anything like that. I'm just, I tried to find some obscure guys, and as much as I tried to get cute and funky, I kept coming back to the guys that killed us. They're all big names with the exception of maybe 2.
I'm taking that crown, by the way, of getting cute and edgy about my picks. I'd be taking that crown right now. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna have the obscure ones as the one non-Yankee fan here.
Yeah, I kept trying to find guys that and I just you can't ignore some of the success that some of the obvious names. I mean, I've said it over and over that I've personally witnessed Manny Ramirez the greatest right-handed hitter I ever saw. Manny had a way of putting the ball into play wherever he wanted. He could look fooled on one pitch and absolutely murder the next. And you drill down on the numbers, man. He had 203 games against the Yankees, so that's a pretty big sample size. 51 doubles, 55 home runs, 165 RBI. He was always driving in runs. He had 110 walks. He batted .322, slugged .617, and his OPS was over 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was just a fucking machine, man. And yeah, I know everyone was afraid of Ortiz, and Ortiz kind of had those big moments, but I was always more afraid of Manny than Ortiz, man.
Well, you get into the numbers, and Manny was the bigger Yankee killer. In fact, Manny might be the biggest Yankee killer in our lifetime, certainly. And to add on to that, Henry, because he was on my list too, most doubles, most runs, most home runs, and RBI all came against the Yankees. I know he was in the division, and that goes a long way with some of these stats, but all of those stats in his career came against the Yankees, not the Blue Jays, not the Rays, not the Orioles, who had shittier pitching for the most part. Yankees. That's a Yankee killer.
I remember having a conversation with someone recently, and I said David Ortiz always hit doubles, and then when you look up the numbers, he has what did I say? 51 doubles. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah, insane. And all of those career splits you named are higher against the Yankees than his norm. Not by too much, because he's a Hall of Fame hitter, but definitely higher. So when you're already a Hall of Famer and you exceed that, pretty good. Brian, was he on your list?
Oh, yeah. I mean, That's why I had to go to obscure, because I knew that I wasn't going to try to take Manny away from you guys.
Yeah. That was only 733 at bat.
I wish we could take Manny away.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this and thing. I mean, on the list, I mean, Ortiz and Manny are like 3-5 on the all-time home run list against the Yankees. Mm-hmm. Manny's number 3 with Jimmy Fox and Ted Williams being number 1 and 2. Hell of a list.
It is, and a lot of players from the same team on that list too. Brian, who do you have for us? Let's get a little weird here.
All right, so he single-handedly got the Cubs, or got out of some. He turned a lot of double plays against the Yankees. Only 7 career games, though. And you're lucky he stayed in the NL. You're lucky. Because he has a slugging of 783, a batting average of 348. Jason Hayward.
What? Really?
Really?
I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years, and I make fun of Hayward more than anyone. I never would have guessed that.
Was it all the year before he got his contract?
So he's had 7 career games. 2012, he had 6 games. 2017, he had 1. In 2017, in that game, he pulled 2 double plays against the Yankees. Outfield assists. Watch the highlights on YouTube. Magical. Yankee killer. Now, they lost the game, but that's irrelevant.
I can't. Has he ever homered against them?
He has 2 career home runs.
I don't remember either one.
5 RBIs. I mean, I know that's why it's weird.
That really blows my mind. He would be maybe the 800th player, I'd guess.
Yeah. But like in terms of stats, like if you look up ops, like he's up there. He's on like the top 25.
Wow.
When did Jason Hayward get his money? I'm trying to look it up.
2016 or 15 going into 16.
Yeah, it was well before then. 2012. So he was on the Braves.
The Braves. So he was like still Jesus back then. He was like the left-handed black Jesus. Like,
I saw him. When did he go to the Cubs?
2016.
Okay,
so that's when he
was on the Cardinals in 2015.
Right, man. I remember off topic, but I remember I said Christmas could be canceled. All I wanted was Jason Hayward.
Yeah, I think we all have those in our life.
Well, Jason Hayward is like, the guy, you guys probably wouldn't see this meme being on the East Coast, but when the Cubs won, he's like, Jason Hayward is like the guy that gets an A on the class project but doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And there's a meme of like what he hit in the NLCS. It was like $121. It's like, he gets the champagne and the ring and everything else. And like,
I can feel Felipe cringing from here because I know he loves Hayward and his quote-unquote contributions to the chip. So I can feel Felipe cringing wherever he's at right now.
I can't hate. I mean, my Cardinal fan friends were like, speech, what a speech, what a speech. I'm like, hey, you pay a guy to win a championship. If he wins a championship underneath that contract and he can somehow get some credit,
Yeah.
Screw it. It's worth it.
By the way, just for Alan Windignecht, who's watching, if you tune in next week, Alan, we are going to discuss all sorts of baseball updates. So, but this show is dedicated to Yankee killers, even though Henry and I are both Yankee fans. All right.
That was a hell of a job with that last name pronunciation.
I gave it my best, just like all of these Yankee killers against the Yankees. By the way, if I keep looking into this corner, it's not because I'm trying to not to listen to Brian or Henry. It's just where my list is. But I'll get into.
Hey, Henry, did you see my sign?
Yeah, I said.
I'm purposely.
I was Brian. I was at that parade and saw that sign live, like in real life.
Well, it's funny. As I got on, I tried another picture, but it wouldn't show Manny. So I just Googled Manny Ramirez, Manny being Manny Yankees, and this is the first thing that popped up. So
this podcast tends to make me look a little paler than I am, but this is the exact complexion I had when I saw that sign at the Red Sox parade. I was like all the blood and joy just rushed from my face.
You're gonna have to paint that wall right behind you blue.
Yeah, I know. I look much paler here than in real life. But I'll give you an obscure one, Brian. I was having a hell of a time finding any shortstops who ever did well against the Yankees until I came across, and this was just based on one game where I remember him having like 4 hits, and that's Jose Iglesias.
Oh yeah.
Was that a Detroit? Was he a Detroit dude?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
He was a lifetime 273, 315 guy. So, decent batting average, pretty shitty on base percentage, and 687 OPS. So he's not a good hitter. Obviously known for his glove most of his career. Against the Yankees, though, he's a 360, 392, 857 hitter. And he's top 5 against other teams in batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS in 114 at-bats. It was a whim that I looked him up, and it blew my mind how badly he has killed us. And that, I totally blame Larry Rothschild for that.
I blame Larry Rothschild for everything.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime I see someone on this list in recent memory, it's going straight to Larry as far as my blame.
Now, you know what's funny is so as a kid, I grew up thinking pitching coaches were God's gift to everyone. They were just the greatest thing ever. And he was preached in Chicago as the guy that is unbelievably smart and could just do everything. And with Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood and all that stuff. And then he goes to the Yankees, and he was there for 15 years. So do coaches just don't get changed if they don't have to very much? I wonder what goes into them staying a long time, if that makes sense. That's a stupid question, but
way too long.
I've always said baseball and football are the most boring. They have no imagination when it comes to hiring coaches. Football recently has gotten a little bit better with this rush of 31-year-olds who they're hiring. But before that, it was how many jobs can Mike Tice have before we realize he's a shitty coach? Same with baseball. It's how many times do we recycle the same managers? But
look at the White Sox pitching coach. He's been there ever since I probably started liking baseball. Why?
Yeah.
There's just no way he's just that great at his job.
Unless you're Leo Mazzoni, I have no idea why these guys stay for decades on end. Henry,
they don't know how to market anything. Baseball is the sport that relies on 20 and 30-year-olds for data for 7-year-old white men who are coaching the teams to implement it. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's true. Henry, what else do you have for us?
I'm just going to get the obvious out the way. David Ortiz.
Yeah, we probably should have complimented him with Manny to save the Yankees.
Just saying.
His numbers are ridiculous. They're not as good as Manny's, but they're pretty damn good. His career OPS was 961. 243 games. So he played 40 more games than Manny and didn't have as many stats, just to show you how dominant Manny was. Yeah,
and Ortiz is one of those guys. Now, obviously, we have a laundry list of memories of him killing us, including twice in one series in the 04 ALCS. But 286, 380, 931 is his career splits. 303, 394, 961 is his career versus Yankees. It's better. It's better in all three, but not he didn't just kill the Yankees. And I looked. There's 2 observations I had going through this list. One is that everyone either killed the Devil Rays if they played in the early part of the century, or they killed the Twins if they played any part of the century. Every list I looked at, it was of these Yankee killers, they're second or third versus the Yankees, and the Twins was always ahead of them. It's unbelievable how bad that pitching has been this century.
And it will be. It'll continue to be.
Yeah, can't have a Yankee Killer podcast without at least making fun of the Twins. So, yeah, Ortiz, I mean, how much do you really have to say about him? 53 career home runs, not far behind Manny. That's third. 171 RBIs, that's fourth against the Yankees compared to other teams. And 303 is third out of AL teams because the NL was pretty small sample sizes. The other thing about Ortiz that I didn't realize, he's an AL East killer because all of the teams ahead were like Blue Jays and Orioles, basically. Yeah, so he just killed the entire AL East, but obviously the highest profile and the most moments were against the Yankees.
I think the bigger moments, I think Ortiz may have had bigger moments, singular moments than Manny, where Manny was just a machine every at-bat, just grinding and grinding and grinding, where Ortiz had that, 2 or 3 run home run to put a game away or, just the nail in the coffin, so.
Yeah, always.
I mean, as a Yankees fan, did you always just sense that coming? You're like, well, here we go, game over. Like, already be pissed before it happens?
I was like that with Manny. I always knew Manny was going to come through no matter what.
There's 2 guys that's been that for me, if you don't mind, in my Cub history.
Yeah.
It's Jeff Bagwell and Albert Pujols.
I could see Pujols being it.
Albert Pujols.
Like, especially with, when Jeff Bagwell, I mean, in the Enron days, you just knew it was either a double to the wall or 400 feet. It was one or the other. It wasn't.
Did it ever piss you off? His stance was so ridiculous, and he still killed you.
Yeah, it just didn't seem physically pop. Like the side shots of that, you're like, that dude must do like 5 hours of yoga a day just to be able to like stretch that much. And then of course, being a kid, you try to do that yourself, and you're like, you don't generate as a kid. You're like, how did he do this?
Real quick, I know Robert Michael mentioned Cal Ripken. I thought Cal Ripken too, and then I looked up Cal Ripken's numbers, and they weren't that great against the Yankees.
You did look him up, okay? Yeah. He crossed my mind.
I immediately thought Cal Ripken when I was going through my mental list of players, and when I sat down and started plugging some numbers, I said, "Damn, his numbers weren't that great."
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was like that for a lot. And another thing to keep in mind as we go through this list, the Yankees, not just a two-thrown horn, it's just a fact. They've had better pitching than many teams in the span we're looking at, which is, the 90s and 2000s and 2010s, basically. So when we look at these career stats, like there's so many teams who had shittier pitching during the last 30 years that they're going to have better stats against. So it's really impressive when you find these guys who typically kill the Yankees.
Yeah, better numbers than their career averages. Here, real quick, Ripken played 246 games. That's a hell of a sample size. His batting average was 266. His on-base was 326, and his slugging was 436. His OPS was 762. He just wasn't.
Yeah, that's pretty average.
Yeah.
So, Brian, you brought up hitters who like scared the hell out of us as Yankee fans. Manny and Ortiz were definitely 2 of them. I know Henry, you can probably relate. When they were in the middle of the Red Sox lineup, it was basically you just prayed they didn't come up at the right time. And as good as the rest of those Red Sox lineups were in like that 03 to 07 span, you just prayed it was like a Millar or Miller.
I was going to say, yeah, Millar.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
It was always Bill Muller, always.
Yeah, actually, Bill Miller, I never looked him up. He'd be an interesting one to look up.
No, he's on my list. I mean, not spoil. He's on my list. But
I know he's a Mariano Rivera
he's
killer.
A Mo killer, and that again, I get that. Like Longoria, I didn't look him up versus Mo, but I guarantee you, he crushes Mo, and this ties in nicely to my next guy because it ties into Ortiz and it ties into Mo, and that is the other guy, the third guy who scared the living hell out of me my entire life watching him was Edgar Martinez. And he made my lineup. He made my bench if I was ranking him because he killed everyone.
Edgar.
Yeah, Edgar was terrifying. Probably the best pure hitter I ever watched.
Yeah.
And he career 312, 418, 933. It's comical he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Fame, by the
way. That late 90s Seattle, I was looking up because I looked up A-Rod too. That 90s Seattle team really killed Jay Buhner, all of them.
They mashed the shit. I have 4 of those guys on this list, so we might just get into the Mariners here. But Edgar had those career numbers: 317, 423, 965 versus the Yankees, with 22 homers and 103 RBIs. And the RBIs were fourth. And remember, this is an AL West team, so it's not like they were playing the Yankees like the Red Sox did. And 542 slugging percentage was third. Hit 337, 439 with a 984 OPS at Yankee Stadium. So we didn't get he was better at Yankee Stadium than he was in the Kingdom, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So Edgar was the most, and I will say this to anyone, he was the most terrifying hitter I ever saw. And that includes Ortiz, but Ortiz got way more opportunities to
That's my feelings, but with Manny.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have to deal with Pujols. If you dealt with Pujols regularly, you would feel
probably right.
A lot of Pujols. I'm not sure if you know, but I am the biggest Pujols stan. I'm enamored with Pujols.
But
I traveled to multiple states to watch him play.
Like kind of like with Ortiz, and I only saw their games on Sunday Night Baseball or October. I didn't see a Tuesday in June when he still walked you guys off.
Yeah.
Like and at the end of the day, those are the things that like the extra nail in the he killed us thing. I mean, there's just so many games, Pujols, you're just like, I remember he went back to back like walk off home runs, and you just weren't even mad. You're just like, I mean, at least it wasn't Nick Puto, you know?
Yeah,
it's very hard for me to wear another player's jersey from another team. Pujols was a guy.
The day he signed with the Angels, I bought a Angels jersey so I could wear it around my Cardinals campus that I was.
I had a Pujols shirt on, jersey on. I had it on when he just killed Brad Lidge's career. I was going crazy. I think the only other guy's jersey I have might be the old teal jersey.
It's a sweet looking jersey.
That tealish color, that was just sick.
We will, like I said, one day have a longest Dong City episode, and that home run off Brad Lidge will most certainly be featured on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a story. I have a story about that. I mean, I think everyone has a story.
I think everyone knows where they were when that moment happened.
Yeah.
Including Brad Lidge's entire family.
All right. Well, I like to be on the show that day.
It's just one of those moments. The ball hit the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And you just was like, fuck. You instantly knew it.
I know.
Where it landed on the train tracks. It was just a shot, man.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Do you guys have other it's occurring to me as I look at my list, almost everyone else is in the West. So
I had two other Mariners. I'll take one off. The other one I know we both have anyway.
I've got like four, so let's go through the Mariners. Who do you have?
I had Tino and I had Griffey.
I thought for sure no one was going to have Tino. I didn't even realize. So Tino, the only reason, and I'll preface this again by saying I didn't look up any of these stats, all just based on memory, except the only memory I had of Tino was the 95 ALDS, and I remember he kicked our ass just as bad as like Edgar and Griffey did. And so it made me look, and his numbers are so much more demoralizing than I thought they were.
No, Tino's a Yankee killer for sure.
Yeah, 271, 344, 815 career stats, which again, you got to look at, this is the 90s into early 2000s at OPS, pretty good. 310, 359, 968 against the Yankees.
Yep.
And that's in over 100 at bats. We're not talking like a crazy small sample size. I think that him being a hero.
200 plus at bats, yeah.
Yeah, I think we forgot all about how much he murdered us after he helped win so many titles with them. But third in batting average, first in slugging and OPS in against teams with at least 100 at bats against the Yankees. He was an absolute Yankee killer.
In 63 games, he somehow managed 44 stolen bases. Figure that one out.
I didn't even have any stolen bases, so that's. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, how far back do you remember?
Did he get? No, that can't be right. No way. Oh, that's 44 RBI. I was about to say.
Oh, all right.
That's 44 RBI.
I only remember him in like 95. I don't remember anything about him before then, but he must have just killed them in the early 90s, I would guess.
I mean, who do you guys think ranks higher in the let's see, RBI list? Griffey or Martinez in the Yankee killer list?
Edgar
you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think Edgar. I've got Griffey stats because he's on
Edgar by one spot with Frank Thomas switch in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have Frank Thomas, Henry?
I did not.
I didn't either. And in my head, I'm like, he probably killed us, but he was like, a ridiculous hitter. So I didn't even look him up. But I'm sure I didn't. Brian, do you have stats on Thomas in that article?
Yeah, I do. It's let's see. He had a 872 ops.
Okay.
464 slugging. 285 batting average. 20 home runs.
Would you
and
say
103 RBI.
I'm surprised his OPS was that low. I would have expected a higher OPS.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably in line with his career numbers.
Or wait, I'm sorry. OPP was 409. OPS was 872.
Yeah, I would expect more than that.
Yeah. I would have guessed over 9. He was another guy. Like every time we played the White Sox, I feel like we lost, and he. but you look up the career stats, and he's like, that's just who Frank Thomas was.
Right.
Should we go with the other Mariner?
Yeah, let's clean up the Mariners because I can the entire night from those 90s. So let's go to Griffey,
Can
though.
we just make Lou Piniella the manager of this Yankee killer team? Like,
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, why not?
I'm sure he would like that, too. Ken Griffey Jr., I originally wasn't going to make my list. Then when I found out other guy, I started with 28 players. I settled on 15 and 12 are my starters, so to speak. I put Griffey on the bench once I realized all these guys I thought killed the Yankees, didn't come close. Griffey, 501 at-bats, so not even a full season. 36 home runs, 102 RBIs against the opposition. He was third in home runs, fourth in OPS, RBI, and batting average against the Yankees. Remember, he's not in the division. And a career 284, 379, 07 guy against the Yankees.
Let me hear that OPS.
392, 987.
987.
987 OPS. If I'm not mistaken, in 95, he hit 5 home runs in that series, I think, in a 5-game series. Him and Juan Gonzalez, I think, did it to us back-to-back years, and the Yankees against Texas, they lost against the Mariners. And
his batting average of balls into play is 315.
Yeah.
And that's in over 133 games. So.
I told you, the one saving grace of Griffey was that he didn't get a hit in the Dwight Gooden no-hitter game I was at. Other than that, I'm pretty sure he hit every other game.
Griffey's also responsible for the first moment as a young baseball fan that one of my favorite players killed my team, and I was real conflicted emotionally. The 95 ALDS was just like a knife in the heart. It's like you love Griffey, but he's killing your team. That was rough to watch. That was the first time I really had an emotional connection with losing.
I'll still tell you the 95 ALDS because it was my first playoff experience. I started following baseball in 93. Yankees didn't make the playoffs. 94 was the strike. 95 was my first postseason. And any Yankee fan who was watching baseball, until back to 1981, first playoff experience. And the Mariners coming back from 2-0 to win that series with Griffey scoring the winning run on a hit, of course, from Edgar Martinez off of course, Jack McDowell. Is still to this day the most heartbreaking sports moment of my entire life, and that includes the 01 World Series, that includes the 04 ALCS, it includes everything.
You know what's interesting to hear that perspective, because have you guys watched the MLB Network documentary about that?
The 95 ALDS?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I guess this is your version of for me the 2003 NLCS. I'm just why would I want to watch something documenting my heartbreak? But one of my good friends works in politics, and I went to Griffey's Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I swear I heard so many 95 references. And after watching the documentary, I'm sure you guys know that it's just funny how it's your heartbreak. But that series saved their baseball.
Oh,
their
saved baseball in Seattle, yeah.
So it's funny because I've never heard of it.
Who gives a fuck about Seattle? You're a Selfish teenager watching this in the Bronx. All you want is the Yankees to win.
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't. How old are you guys? I probably wouldn't have that. I don't think anybody probably had that mindset now. Back then, but I'm sure looking back, if they lose and Seattle, maybe they don't make it to the next season. Maybe they're wherever.
Not that they've done much with it, by the way, but
I was going to say that might have been the best thing for baseball anyway.
So the Mariners I'm with you, Henry. Ken Griffey Jr. in hindsight is like one of my favorite players ever. We had a show on that. He was in my top 4 for sure. But after that 95 ALDS, 2 things happened that saved my entire fan relationship with Griffey. One was that the Yankees then beat the Mariners later in 2000. Well, they beat their greatest team ever, which was very fulfilling in 2001. And I think they also got him in 2000, right? They beat him back-to-back years in the playoffs.
I'm not sure.
Pretty sure, yeah. I think they won in 5 in 2001. I think they won in 6 in 2000. A-Rod hit like a million home runs in that series. But anyway, the Yankees beating the Mariners twice in the playoffs and also winning the World Series the very next year. The only reason that I don't absolutely despise Ken Griffey Jr. because he killed them in the 95 ALDS.
I was having an aneurysm while I was looking at some of the comments earlier today in the Baseball Life group when they were suggesting that Griffey was on steroids. I wanted to just go through computer Yankees.
You know what? I was in Kansas City to watch the Cubs and Royals once and never listened to Kansas City sports talk. A guy legitimately was like, "Oh yeah, he's on steroids. Clearly, his body broke down. That's why." And I'm just like, "This got to be the dumbest motherfucker."
Can't running into a wall and shattering your whole shit, you know.
Right. Like, I remember Paul Bacco, Cubs legend, kidding, of course, separated his shoulder on a triple. Griffey went to go back and catch a triple or catch the ball on opening day, and he fractured his shoulder and, was out for 3 months. And it's just like stuff like that he just couldn't, not to be pun, he couldn't catch a break in Cincinnati.
Carmelo points out it was 99, the Yankees.
99, okay.
Mariners in 6. I remember that series.
Good catch, Melo.
Which also brings me to my next point, and this fills 2 categories: 1, former Mariner, and 2, also former Yankee, debatable on legend. That's Rodriguez, third baseman. You wouldn't think it, and I don't particularly remember it because those Texas teams were kind of shitty, but A-Rod himself, 295, 380, 930. Those are his career Hall of Fame stats against the Yankees. You want to guess what his
career what?
Huh?
His career what stats?
Those are his career Hall of Fame stats. One day. How about this for his stat? He's given Manny a run for his money. It's just a smaller sample size. 334, 386, 1.037 is his OPS against the Yankees lifetime. And that is, I don't have the games. It is over 100 at-bats. First in batting average and slugging, and second in OPS against the Yankees compared to any other team. That's legit.
That's legendary.
That's an ass kicking.
Yeah.
But it was
gave money twice.
It's I think a lot of that though was Texas, and they didn't usually beat us anyway. And then the Mariners, in that, again, I remember him distinctly having at least 3 home runs in that 99 ALCS and losing anyway in 6. So A-Rod also.
He got paid, and thank you, Hank.
Yeah. So Tino and A-Rod paid the Yankee tax. They killed them, and then they won titles for them. So that's how. Brian, who else do you have for us?
All right, so I'm up in the game to 13 career games. Uh-oh. Now, do you remember those Astros teams that you feel like everyone could hit, everyone from top to bottom?
Yep.
This guy was he wasn't part of the Killer Bees, but he could still just rake. But he wasn't like a Hall of Famer. Richard Hidalgo.
Really?
Wow.
Man, you do have the obscure. I remember one game I think Hidalgo had.
But listen to this. And let's see, 13 games, 46 at-bats, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs, 19 hits, 413 average, 472 OBP, 891 slugging, and OPS of 1,363.
Jesus, he had 6 home runs?
Yeah.
Did he ever?
Now, 5 of them in 1 year in 2004.
Were any of those multi-home run games? I feel like I
do not know that. I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, can you if I click on the 2004 link, will it tell me those games when I go into the stats for Baseball Reference?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, you can look in the game log, but that's a lot of effort. And
right, and I think I was just doing good just getting this far.
Yeah, a lot of bang for your buck doing that.
My last guy is very similar.
And it's like, and so I don't know if Sean Cusack is listening, but I was kind of asking. He's a big stat guy too, and I was like, okay, I got to come up with this list. Can you help me like navigate to a good spot on Baseball Reference? And we were going through the list, and kudos to him for finding that, because that's a hell of a sample size.
Yeah.
Especially in that 1 year. I mean, I'll have you if you really want to look, because I'm curious if there was a multi-homer game. The Joe Randa game we couldn't find.
Yeah. Well, James
Sean blows us off all the time. Whenever Sean says, "Oh, I'm driving," I'm driving. I'm driving. Yeah, I'm driving. You're full of shit. John is good people. I love John.
His wife makes all the money. I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't do shit.
He's on the road. He's smart. He's on the road and he's in all the life groups.
Yeah.
I did forget a Mariner, and Leon mentioned him earlier. He was actually the very first player who came to mind when I thought of Yankee killers, because I hate him for several reasons.
Jay Buhner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, because I was looking at the list and I was like, well, we got like half the. That's why we should make Lou Piniella just the manager of this team.
Yeah.
Because
that Mariners team, I mean, that again, I figured that Mariners team, I know they killed the Yankees, but I figured they killed everyone because they broke all sorts of records back then. But
it goes back to them being useless in the game.
Yeah.
That team is absolutely useless. They churn out some of the greatest stars ever, and they're useless.
They should have had they were one ace away and payroll away from having a dynasty, I think, for sure. Jay Buhner was a trade from the Yankees, as all Yankee fans know, which makes this extra vengeful. He was also one of the those Mariners teams. This is left out of the history books. One of the ugliest versions of teams ever. Jay Buhner, Norm Charlton, Randy Johnson. It's an ugly fucking team of ugly players, and Jay Buhner carries that torch with his goatee. Looks like he's like a reject member of Smash Mouth. Jay Buhner, 28 career home runs against the Yankees. That's third. 80 career RBIs against the Yankees. That's third. Batting average and OPS second. And the only team who he did better against, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in the 90s, who had minor league pitching for pretty much the entire time.
Expansion team, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a 254, 359, 852 guy.
And he had a non-appearing recurring role in science.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, which was probably his best work.
Podcast.
Danny Tartable. 957 career OPS against the Yankees. So his career OPS against the Yankees was 105 points higher.
Oh.
Furious. But he was also terrifying, and he had the ugliest stance I can think of in a long time.
Tony Batista has the ugliest stance.
That's true. His Craig Counsell, actually, I would say is probably my least favorite stance ever. Speaking of guys, we mentioned it earlier, but guys who have an ugly stance and kill us, like Jeff Bagwell kills the Cubs, that makes me even angrier. I'm like, wait.
It doesn't make sense how he could do that.
I'm like, you shouldn't even be able to make contact, and you're hitting 380 against us.
It doesn't get any worse than Euclid.
Yeah, you're right. The dude barely touched his bat before he swung. It's the weirdest thing.
Hey, I was going to make a joke that you guys brought up. Kevin Euclid actually leads the Yankees in hit by pitches. You guys hit him the most, so it makes sense.
He hit a lot, I think, in general, right?
Didn't he hit the Yankees 1 year when he played with us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting all sorts of good stats in here. So, in 2004, June and July, Richard Hidalgo killed the Yankees. He had 5 home runs in 4 games. I totally stricken from my memory.
Absurd.
That's a good.
You don't deserve your fanhood anymore. I'm taking it away from you. How could
you caught me. I do not remember that at all.
Clearly, that made SportsCenter that week.
I've got now 2 guys who are obscure. One guy is pretty obvious, and one guy who's a legend. What do you have?
I have 5 guys left total. 2 of them are pitchers.
Okay. Let's hold off on pitchers till the end. Give me one of your hitters.
So I'm going to give you – I have 2 obscure guys, so I'll give you the guy that is the more modern-day Yankee killer, which I don't think a lot of people think about, Mike Trout.
So he's my legend.
Mike Trout just –
I was shocked.
He smokes the Yankees. And I've probably been to every, if not most, of every game that he's played at Yankee Stadium.
Really?
I make it a point to go to Yankee Stadium when he plays. We have a package that gets us 20 games. Plus, I usually buy another 20 offline. So I do about 40 games a year, and I'm always in attendance when Mike Trout is here.
That's smart too. Because, I know everything's more expensive in New York, but that's not a divisional game, and I don't know if that's something the ticket people really tout as making more expensive because it's not a rival.
The Yankees do a pretty good job. They have these different value packs, and a lot of them are teams from other divisions that come in that you may want to see.
Yeah, that's one thing. God bless being a Cub fan and all that jazz, but it's a lot of teams around me in the division and everything else, they have really good deals, in the Cubs, because of the smaller stadium or whatever it is, they just don't have deals like that. And it sucks sometimes because it's you would like to, not have to spend $80 to go see a outer division game,
They just started doing, I think some of the other teams in baseball last year, I posted it in the group, the Yankees were doing monthly plans. So for every home game in that particular month, it was $99. And last August, I think it was, those games included the Angels, the Astros, the Mets, and Boston in 1 month for $99. It was standing room only tickets. But I'm like, come on, $99, and I think it was 12 home games. You can't beat that.
Yeah, even when I had a Sunday package back in the day in 2011, I think. That was a great deal. It included the Red Sox twice, I think.
I had that package for a couple years, yeah.
Yeah, it was $330 for 12 games, which you break it down to $25 a game. It was actual seats. So
you always got Old Timers Day, and that included opening day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep. So the Yankees do good. They do well with packages.
Yeah, but going back to Trout, this is a 44 game sample size, so it's a decent amount. He's batting .325. He's getting on base .443, and he has an OPS of 1,067.
You know what the shocking thing about Trout was when I looked into this?
Mm-hmm.
His career OPS is exactly 1,000.
You want to know what his batting average balls hitting the play is against the Yankees?
Yeah, what?
376.
It's
stupid.
If the ball is in play, he's almost on base 40% of the time.
If you pay real close attention to me in baseball life, I give Trout a lot of shit because I do think he's legitimately boring, like a boring personality, and he's so mechanically boring because he's so good that I give him a lot of shit. But doing this exercise and seeing his career stats and then seeing his stats against the Yankees, I have a newfound appreciation. I mean, he has 1,000 OPS and he's been playing for almost a decade. That's
Mike Trout is LeBron James.
Yeah, I tell you what,
the GOAT playing and doesn't get the respect.
I flew out to Seattle to visit my buddy, and specifically just to go see Trout play, and he homered twice, both to dead center. It was just not too often in sports you have an idea of something hopefully happens, and it does. Mm-hmm. And it was the ball. I mean, not to be cliche, but it just sounded different off his bat. We were behind home plate.
Does. Yep.
And we were behind home plate, which if you ever get to go out to Seattle, they have the greatest behind home plate deal ever.
I want to go there real bad. Yeah, Trout did that for me too. I feel like he just gives gifts to everyone.
I know. I've told
the story several times, but I went to Cincinnati for the first time, their ballpark last year. I saw Trout for the first time, Angels Reds interleague, and he homered, stole a base, and also dropped a routine fly ball. I was like, I never need to see Mike Trout again. I saw everything that he could possibly do, including the rarest of things, and I'm good. And so, yeah, Trout, you see him once, and he will definitely leave you with a memory. That's just how he is.
I think Hardy and I were at that 5-for-5 game last year.
Yeah, I mean, him, right, when him and Harper came up, Harper was my guy. And after 2015, I was like, see, it's definitive proof Bryce Harper is the better baseball player. Yeah. And I still love watching Bryce Harper play. I think that watching –
That's it right there. Bryce Harper's more fun.
Yes.
But yes. He can hold the
The torque on Bryce Harper's swing, if you see it in person, watch him as he swings, is really incredible. But Mike Trout, you're right, Brian. There's just something different when you watch him. Everything effortless, exactly like LeBron. Like you said, he just does everything. and he does it so efficiently and mechanically sound that it just gets lost. And I think Angels fans in our group know that, and they bring it up as often as they possibly can. But it is very true, and it's warranted in this. I had no idea he killed the Yankees. Not at all. Would have never guessed it. And then you look it up, and he's on base like 45% of the time. That's insane.
That was one of my first guys. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a Trout mark, but I remember that, and I looked it up, and I was like, damn, he's actually better than I remember.
Yeah, which James, more research. Hidalgo started 2 for 9 against us, and then went 9 for 17 after. That's like the reverse Edgar versus Mo stats. He started like 9 for 11 against Mo, and then he went 3 for 10 after.
We do have our obligatory Angels won't win with Trout comment in the comment section.
There you go. Yeah, take that. Look, Mike, again, another LeBron comparison. He's never going to have the rings, I think, that he probably needs to get the proper respect. But if he finishes with 1,000 OPS, is that are you going to ignore that?
Right.
So, speaking of Trout, we'll have a nice segue here into a different Angel. Finally got his national props last year as being one of the greatest pure hitters in our generation, and that is Howie Kendrick, who also happened to be a massive Yankee killer. And I remember, and this is an interesting thing too, Henry. I don't know how deep you went into those Angels, but we both remember.
Hey, Brian has like the mic of all mics.
Brian's like doing backflips down there. No one knows what's going on.
No, well, what happens is I have my Google Chrome, and I'm just like looking up stats, and so it's like just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. So I looked pretty deep into those Angels teams because the Angels are the only team during the Torre tenure who actually had a winning record against the Yankees. And so I figured there were a few killers. I go and I look up Darren Erstad because I always remember him getting a million hits. Not really. David Eckstein, not really. Tim Salmon, not really. Garrett Anderson, I was like 100% sure, not really.
Really? I would have put money on Garrett Anderson.
Pretty much career stats. Howie Kendrick, though, was legit. Career 294, 337, 768, which I would have guessed his OPS was a little higher than that. Mm-hmm. Versus the Yankees, 348, 412, 897. So out of all of if you ever get this trivia question, out of all of those Angels players who used to kick our ass, Howie Kendrick's the ringleader. Oh, I looked up Sean Figgins too. Not really. Howie Kendrick, though, third OPS, third batting average, sixth third on base. Third batting average, 6 OPS against the Yankees compared to every other team. And again, West Coast guy is not playing them every year. So
there was a guy on the Angels that again, with Garrett Anderson, there was Garrett Anderson and someone else. I said that I know they killed us. I know that I'm going to look these guys up and I'm going to blow, holy shit. And I was wrong on both of them. The other one was Torrey Hunter.
Oh,
yeah. I could have guessed it. Yeah, he didn't cross my mind. But
I was like, Torrey Hunter killed the Yankees for sure. Nope.
Yeah. I skipped all the Twins. I was just like, there's no way. But like Morneau, Maurer, Hunter, those all would have been good guesses. Who else do you have, Henry? Because I'm down to 2, and they're both really obscure.
Okay, so let me just real quick. We don't have to talk about them because I think everyone knows about them. Let me get the 2 pitchers out the way, and then I'll go to the 2 players.
Yeah, go.
The 2 pitchers were Pedro, which is a given, and Roy Halladay.
Yeah. I think we had someone mentioned Halladay earlier today.
18-7 all time against the Yankees. 18-7.
Not to diminish them, but screw them because they kicked our ass. But we know that they're great. They're Hall of Famers. I'm going to go to one of my 2 obscure guys.
Okay.
Jody Reed.
He played very obscure.
11 seasons in baseball. Had 66 games against the Yankees. His batting average was 357. On base was 448. And he slugged 477 for 925 OPS. This is a guy that was a bum.
Wow.
And he just killed the Yankees. That's in 66 games and 235 at-bats.
That's a big sample size, too.
Yeah.
How did you even find that?
I actually typed in his name looking for somebody else, and I was like, no, fuck this. And then I was like, let me just keep going. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a really good one.
He is a second baseman that played 11 seasons. He played with Boston, then was traded to the Dodgers, then played with Milwaukee and the Padres.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's
Jody Reed.
Brian, do you have an obscure one for us? I feel like you're sitting on an arsenal at this point.
Well, he actually became a Yankee, and another one that Sean Cusack helped me find, A.J. Burnett before he became a Yankee.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember. He had our number.
He was 6-3, which I don't know if you guys value the wins or whatnot. I still think it's a stat worth. But he had 2.43 ERA. He had, let's see.
You just lost me on A.J. Burnett. Everyone knows how much I hate that guy.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is that's what Sean said. He goes, A.J. Burnett really burns their ass.
Oh, right, though. That was a narrative when we signed him. It wasn't just like getting a number 2 starter or whatever Burnett was supposed to be, but it was also that we were eliminating a guy who dominated us.
My favorite positive memory of A.J. Burnett was something he said at the press conference, which I respected. That's probably the only time I liked him. I remember him saying, they asked him, they were like, why did you go to the Yankees? And he was like, they're going to give us check. Like, the blunt honesty.
I think I remember that. Like,
the blunt honesty I appreciated and respected. Other than that, I hate his fucking guts.
Burnett, Pavano, and Javier Vasquez are my 3 least favorite pitchers ever.
Nice. Because
they played well elsewhere, came to the Yankees, sucked ass, and then went and played well elsewhere. And that makes me so – that is my biggest –
A.J. Burnett had a weird career where he was just kind of like, depending on the year, he would either be pitch a no-hitter or he couldn't find, he'd break windows. He'd break windows of trucks,
I think Burnett's a classic big stage guy.
Yeah.
He can't operate on the big stage. He was great before he came to us. When he left us, he did damn good in Pittsburgh for a few seasons. I just think he was that guy that the pressure was too big.
Except he did well for us in the playoffs in 2009, which is so bizarre.
He wasn't even asked to be the number 1. He was never asked to be the number 1 guy. He was always behind PC.
Yeah, except what was that World Series game against the Phillies? He had like a great game.
I'm giving him no credit for nothing.
It was so rare.
No credit, not at all.
I mean, I think, who's similar to that, and he gets a lot more praise than A.J. Burnett? Josh Beckett. If you look at Josh Beckett's stats, every other year he kind of sucked. He was like a 5 ERA guy, gave up 30 home runs.
But he was good in big moments.
Yeah, he was a big game pitcher, and he was a Cy Young candidate the years he was good, which is different from Burnett.
We don't lose in 2003 if he's not pitching for the Marlins.
And he's a 2-time certified Yankee killer. He beat us in 2003, and then he beat us again in they won a World Series with the Red Sox. It's like killing the Yankees in 2007. So, yeah, Beckett, Schilling, and Verlander stick out to me as pitchers who kill the Yankees. But I didn't include any pitchers. Pedro would have definitely been on mine, so would have Halladay. So who else, Brian, who else you have?
So I don't know how you guys will feel because obviously postseason means a lot, but, David Price is 16-15 because I remember thinking like he was like a guy that was, old Tampa Bay would go in there and he'd be all proud to, win for Tampa Bay, us against the world kind of thing. I thought he had better stats. 16
David
and
Price
15.
is the Yankees bitch.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's a lot of starts to factor in out of 44 and 32 of them.
Well,
I feel like that's damage. He's also gotten beat too.
If you look at David Price, early David Price with Tampa Bay, like his first 3-4 seasons, he killed us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
had
After that,
222
he just
strikeouts.
became, like Vince said, our bitch.
To put it in perspective, I was at the Derek Jeter 3,000 hit game when he faced David Price and went 5 for 5 that day. Going into that day, I was like, fuck, we're facing David Price.
Right. Okay. So I'm not completely off in this then.
But no, his first few years with Tampa, for sure, he definitely did really well against us. I want to say, and I have no proof of this, that day was the turning point. Because every game after that, I remember him getting just torched by the Yankees.
I think we started smacking him up before that.
Before that, yeah. and then now it's at the point where he ducks starts against us, and now he doesn't have to play against us.
And now you want him to pitch against us.
Yeah.
Right.
So Yeah.
Like, I was looking forward to playing the Dodgers in the World Series and David Price starting for them. I was looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. I'm still looking forward to that.
So
and
this might be a little off
he
field,
bets
but
to get all the credit in the world and hit like 180 in that series.
Hey, you guys, you want to hear a fun fact about David Price?
Yeah.
Guess how much his contract was?
Well, when with the Tampa Bay?
No, Red Sox.
217, right?
Oh, yeah.
217.
Yeah. Which was
So-
the highest, I think, at the time.
You don't get it.
Central
man.
Illinois
217
celebrated it that day.
He has
No.
217 problems.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Facing the
But-
Yankees is one of them. So good. I'll go to one of my two obscure guys, and this is going into the way back machine. I had a suspicion that he hit us really well. He didn't hit us as well as Howie Kendrick did, so he's on my bench. Carlos Baerga, and I have a specific memory as to why I looked him up. But Carlos Baerga, career 291 hitters. He's a pretty good hitter. 332, 754, mediocre. Versus the Yankees, 308, 332, 812. Fifth versus team. The 812 is fifth against teams over 150 at bats, and fourth in batting average, OPS, second in slugging. So he definitely outperformed himself against the Yankees. But the one reason I looked him up in the first place, and this is really obscure, the Yankees used to, when the Jake first opened, which is now Progressive Field, when Jacobs Field first opened, the Yankees lost like every single time they played there. They played really well against the Indians at Yankee Stadium. They sucked on the road. There was a game when the Yankees were up 9-5 in the ninth, and Mariano Rivera came in, and he in particular sucked in that stadium. And the Yankees lost 10-9. They had 5 runs in the ninth, and Carlos Baerga got the walk-off, and that's been printed in my memory ever since. And for that reason, I was like, he must kill the Yankees. And he killed them enough for me to include this story and him on this list.
Nice.
And there was another game, too, where Mo blew a 6-1 lead in the ninth in Jacobs Field. So that was like a weird part of Yankee history where they just couldn't win in Cleveland, and terrible things happened, too. So Carlos Baerga.
It carried all the way to Jabba with the midges. We always have weird things happen.
Yeah, it's a weird field for the Yankees. And the Lindor Grand Slam that wasn't challenged.
Yeah.
Another one.
That's
So,
right.
Yep.
The Joe Girardi non-challenge game.
Yeah,
I was watching that game on MLB Network the other day. I wish I should have told you guys when that was on. You might want to watch that.
probably not. They led what though, Brian? 8-3 in that game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was funny. I turned it on right when right after the Lindor thing, where that's all they talk about is the Girardi non-challenge and how.
I think that was the moment the idiot Yankee fans turned on Joe Girardi.
We all thought he was getting fired because we thought we were losing the series, first of all. And then we all thought he was getting fired for that call. And he got fired anyway, even though we won the series.
I mean, I thought it was writing on the wall that no matter what, they're all trying like, well, we look at everyone's contract at the end of the year, not just the managers. And I was like, he's gone. I could just.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that was the moment they turned on him, and I still, to this day, defend Joe Girardi and say
Yeah, me too. I think he'll do really well for Philly, too.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast about expectations, but that's.
Steve Pierce has been brought up twice today. Brian, can you look up his stats? It wouldn't shock me if he qualified, but I don't personally think he's one of those guys we remember like one series where he really hit us well, and now we think he's a Yankee killer. I am going to say he's probably not, but someone look it up.
Who are we talking about?
No, I think James has the. Oh, apparently I'm dead wrong because James has the stats. James, tell us the stats on Steve Pierce. And meanwhile, speaking of Steve Pierce, who wants to give me an obscure person?
I will give you my last guy.
Okay.
This guy was actually supposed to be included in my player list last week when we had this.
I'm gonna be so mad if it's the same guy.
No, it's not. It's the guy I told you about.
Oh, shit, this is a good one.
Pedro Ciriaco.
What?
Pedro Ciriaco has 272 career games, 18 of them against the Yankees. He hit 407, 429, 556, for 984 OPS. Absolutely destroyed the Yankees. His batting average with balls hit into play. Are you ready? Because this is just absurd. 468.
Wow. Talk about.
He put the ball in play, was on base almost 50% of the time.
Talk about fluke. I do see you mentioned Ciriaco to me last week, which was the first time I heard his name since he left baseball. And I immediately remembered there was that one series. I don't even remember if he was on the Red Sox or someone else, but he had like 6 hits in 2 games.
Yeah.
And killed us.
When I don't know why I looked him up. Something told me to look him up. I think I saw his name somewhere, and then I kept digging and digging, and I was like, holy shit, this guy torched us.
Yeah, that's a really good one. By the way, Steve Pearce, 280, 375, that's okay, but a 560 slugging and 15 home runs in 64 games.
Yeah.
That's legit.
I have a guy, and you could tell me what you thought, because I thought those Blue Jays teams were like any other division, they probably win a couple more division titles in the 2000s.
Fair, yeah.
And I think if they beat you guys, he had to do something with it. Not Carlos Delgado, but Vernon Wells.
Yeah, that's a good one. Brian, I struggled mightily trying to think of Orioles and Blue Jays who killed the Yankees. So it was like they're a division rival.
Well, and it's funny because, like, I call this, I'm the Midwest kid that just watched AL East games on SportsCenter. And it's like, I feel like, obviously that's offensive, division. But I feel like those Blue Jays teams were just mashers. And they had people that could play. And Vernon Wells is like Canadians' version of Jim Edmonds to me, of where he's a good, like, up here player, but he's never going to get that respect that he should get for whatever. I mean, obviously Vernon Wells couldn't defend like Edmonds, but
you have his stats versus
yeah, I do. Yeah.
What are they?
So oh man, darn it. So on this, I just have 2009. So I've been going back and forth on this Baseball Reference. The thing that's kind of a pain is it goes from years to stats if I refresh or if I go back. So
if you use the splits tool, you can choose the opponents.
Yeah, well, so just in 2010, he had 7 home runs, 17 RBIs, 17 home runs, 19 RBIs, and a 324 average.
Was he a bigger, because I didn't look him up, was he a bigger killer than Delgado? Because I always felt like Carlos Delgado just murdered us, even with the Mets.
Or I'll have to, it'll take me a second to look. I apologize.
I have Vernon Wells stats here. 169 games against the Yankees, so it's big sample size.
Yeah.
He had 301, 352, 516 for an OPS of 869.
What's his career stats?
His career stats are 319, 450. He had a damn good.
He hit 319 in his career.
319 is on base. Hold on.
I never would have guessed that ever.
270, 319, 457. So yeah, he definitely, played up for the Yankees for sure.
Oh, who are we talking about? Who is that?
Vernon Wells.
Okay, so I got Vernon Wells up.
Yeah.
He had 29 home runs.
Wow.
He had a 301 batting average. A 869
OPS.
ops, and a 516 sluggage, and an OBP of 352.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. 29 home runs, legit.
And 106 RBI. So that's a season. It's a season
of a Blue Jay, which is why Holiday came up.
Yeah.
And I said, Roy, I said Josh Donaldson has to kill the Yankees.
No, that's a good one too. No?
Nope. And I just had him up and I lost him, but hold on.
So yeah, someone grabbed Delgado and
yeah, here we go. Here's Josh Donaldson against the Yankees. You ready?
Yeah.
He had 217.
Wow.
I would have never thought that.
Me neither.
217, on base 314. His slugging was 388. His OPS is 702.
That's like my Joe Randa. Joe Randa, I swear to God, every time we played the Royals, had like a million hits against us, and he's a 220 career hitter.
He had a 5-for-6 game. I showed you.
Yeah, and I only remember him because every time he came to bat, it was like Nomar with the batting gloves. Every time Joe Randa came to bat, they pointed out how he smiles.
I was just going to say that, his crooked-ass smile.
Yeah, they
I was
called
just
him
saw
the
that.
Joker.
I was like,
yes. Joe Rand is one of my favorite obscure players, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious. He's just such a weird character. But
I was going to say, I was hoping my obscure guy that I was hoping was Yankee killer, but he wasn't, was Brandon Inge.
Oh, yeah, no way.
He wasn't, but I don't know. I saw him and Coco Chris, my two favorite obscure players of like the mid 2000s. I was at a Detroit game and they both homered in the same game, and I thought my life was set. Next to the Cubs winning the World Series, seeing Coco and Brendan homer in the same game.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last year. You have memories, and then you look it up and you're like, well, no, maybe it's just that memory. You know, I go back to Aaron Rowan kicked the Yankees' ass on the weekend, and everyone wanted him on the Yankees.
Yep. I have one more player, and he's my favorite Yankee killer, and I've mentioned him once before on this show. He's my favorite Yankee killer for a few reasons. One is that I still remember 25 years ago him being mentioned as a Yankee killer, and that's the reason I looked him up, which props to me. But also his name is awesome. Geronimo Baroa, the old Oakland A's player. First of all, this is a cool stat. There's only been 2 Baroas to ever make the majors, him and Angel, who stole the Rookie of the Year from Hideki Matsui. Yeah. So that shocks me because it's like not that uncommon of a name. But he's a career 276, 349, 798 guy, which is a lot better than I thought because I kind of figured just he was like, whatever, below average. 7 WAR in his career, so he still kind of sucks. Versus the Yankees, 328, 430, and an OPS over 1,000. 1.028 in 204 at-bats, and he hit 14 home runs and had 44 RBIs, and those are both second against the Yankees. Now, that's second against the Yankees. But he
200 at-bats?
Huh?
200 at-bats?
204 at-bats.
Oh.
And he hit 14 home runs and 44 RBIs. And that's so only one other team, and it was probably the Twins, though I have no idea, that he did better against. But he played in the West, so it's not even like he was playing the Yankees all the time. He just killed us. One year he hit 8 home runs in the season against the Yankees. And that stuck out to me. I was at my cousin's house in their basement watching that series. I think the Yankees got swept, and the A's just killed their – this must have been like 95. And Geronimo Baroa just I think he had a 3 home run game in that series at some point. Like he just killed us. Name always stuck out to me. I looked him up, and sure enough, the dude is a bona fide Yankee killer who no one remembers. Wow. So I'm going out in a blaze of glory. That was my final guy.
I just looked him up real quick. Something weird stands out. He only played 11 years in the Yankees, but he played in 3 decades.
That's cool.
I just the number
2000.
Yeah, he came up in 89, played through the 90s, and retired in 2000.
If you were on the Oakland Athletics at any point in the 80s, you're probably one of my favorite players. Just I don't know why they were like the ultimate throwback baseball version.
It's just a shame that franchise never really was able. I mean, they make the playoffs and but they're never really considered a huge threat. It's a shame that payroll and stuff. They're so dominant in the 80s and 70s and 80s.
I know. Well, the Yankees are to blame for most of that, though.
Yeah.
Seattle.
We took them out like 3 times, including last year.
I still don't know. I still don't know if Giambi slides, if he's safe or not.
That's a good one.
I've watched it a million times. There's 2 replays.
The captain was where the captain was. That's what you did wrong.
Honestly, Brian, it says
so. There's 2 replays that I question. That one, and then when the White Sox won the World Series, which they were sweeping the Astros anyways. But you cannot definitively say that guy was safe to end the World Series.
I thought you were going to say Jackie Robinson, Yogi Berra.
No.
That
I'm not trying to do because then you bring in that, then you bring in race wars and stuff. You're like, I don't want to do that.
That one is good. That when Jackie Robinson steals home.
Yeah, that is.
But you know what? The technology on that is so, I don't want to say lame, but it wasn't there. So it's like, I feel like freeze frame and everything else is off when you watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think if Giambi,
and then we'll get the occasional. P. Rose over somebody in an All-Star game.
I think if Giambi hook slides, he's definitely safe. If he slides like to the outside. But the beauty of that play was that's why he didn't slide, because no one in a million years thought the ball was going to be there.
Yeah.
So you can't really revise that.
Why was the ball there?
What's that?
Why was the ball there?
Yeah, because of Jeter.
The captain.
That play, I was also in a basement watching.
Captain Clutch, damn it.
had that game on mute and I was watching it, and it was like one of those situations where I'm in a basement and like my friend's sister was also in the basement with her friends. So there's like 10 people just running around, and I have the game on and I'm watching it on mute, and that play happens, and like it took me like probably 24 hours to fully digest what had happened. The same thing happened with the Leyritz home run, by the way, in the 96 World Series. I was also watching that in a basement, and like it was just one of those things that happened, and I wasn't like 100% into the game. But I saw it happen, and it took me like forever to figure out like the magnitude of what had just taken place. But
I mean, it took me like 3 days to recognize the Cubs won the World Series because of all the emotions that went through the whole damn month.
Yeah, you're like, this didn't
like I was working at the hospital at the time, and you know, every nurse, I call them like, you know, part-time baseball fan Karens, and they'd be like, Brian, are you excited? I'm just like, I'm drained. I don't even know what to think. Like, I'm excited. I was like, yeah. So I know what you mean. It takes you a while to be like, what?
Yeah, that play, but yeah, I mean that's why Giambi was out. There's no other player probably makes that play at that moment in time in baseball. I'll stick by that. There is no reason for Derek Jeter to be anywhere near that play, and then to make a perfect flip while on the run towards the dugout. And here's the biggest miracle that no one brings up: Jorge Posada not only caught it, but he also made a perfect tag. Because he's not a good defender, but that play he played perfectly.
I think it's probably one of those things where if they tried to replay that play a million times, either the flip isn't perfect or you're right. Posada isn't, you know, doesn't tag him too high, too low, whatever. You know.
I don't know if Joe Torre was blowing smoke up everyone's asses. A part of me thinks he does, but he did claim that was practice, if you remember.
Yeah, he did say that they had practiced it before.
He claimed that was practiced.
But even so, the magnitude of that moment, you're on the road, you're in a playoff series.
The likelihood of that play happening is
yeah, to be able to execute that is absurd. Even right down to the fact Shane Spencer's throw is kind of shitty. That's why it needed that relay. But it was on the line. If it's not on the line, Jeter doesn't make that flip. I mean, everything had to work out perfectly, including Jeremy Giambi's speed running from first. If it was the faster runner, we're not having that conversation either.
But say if they practiced it, I mean, let's just say they did it in March. How are you going to have the frame of mind to know?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That is still one of the most phenomenal.
I always hear. I mean, my baseball coach always said that we practiced that in February, and it's May now. And you're like,
yeah.
So one day in March doesn't do anything.
So, anyway, does anyone else have anyone left they want to share?
Well, I will say I noticed that Dave Duncan had 13 career home runs against the Yankees, former pitching Cardinals.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Shelly Duncan had a nice run.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Yankees. Well, good. Well, this was fun.
One guy I didn't mention, I won't get into the stats, but he is a Yankee killer, is Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, I looked him up. I looked him up. It wasn't too different from the fact that he kills everyone to include him. So I didn't. But he's also, I feel like, a Mo killer. I remember at least a couple of home runs off of him.
And so, Gary Sanchez is a Miguel Cabrera killer.
Yeah, we have our own. So anyway, thank you guys for this. This was fun, and now we never have to do it again. Thank you, Brian, for joining us. We
thank you for having me.
Fan here to give us some obscurity like Richard Hidalgo.
Hey, again. Well, I think Jason Hayward, man, you better hope he never goes to the AL. 'Cause you're fucked.
I think I'm pretty much good on worrying about the rest of his career. I think the worst is behind us. Thank you for joining us. It was a fun double dip with Brian Bernes. Henry and I will be back next week. We're going to give some more modern baseball updates. I think there's enough there to start kind of speculating on a lot of stuff. So,
am I getting fired?
You were a great guest, our only two-time guest so far.
I do have an idea, which we'll talk offline for next week.
So. Okay, cool.
We got to see if we can mix things up. But,
we'll
definitely be discussing current events. And, I mean, you're welcome anytime, Brian.
You guys are my baseball lifeline right now.
Yeah, and so that's where we want to go into it next week so we can start talking modern baseball, get people's hopes up a little bit. But anyway, so this was a Yankee Killer edition of Dong City, and we will join you next week, next Monday.
Dong City, bitches.
Bye.